us for the virtual community network meeting, Services for Adults and Individuals with Intellectual and Developmental Disabilities. My name is Christopher Jorgensen. I'm an outreach case coordinator with the core division at Denver Human Services. I want to welcome you all. We're going to go ahead and get started here. Our first slide is going to be about our Q&A. So we'll just switch over to that real quick. All right. So as an attendee, you have the option to ask any questions that our presenters can answer throughout this presentation. To do that, you'll just select the Q&A on the right side of your screen, type your question in the compose box, and then select send. You can also ask the question anonymously and just make sure that you click that option before submitting your question. This event is live captions, so if you would like to turn on captions and subtitles, just select that option and that will start. And you can also change the language of the captions through the settings there. All right, going over today's agenda. So first off, we'll just do kind of a round robin hello from our presenters, just welcoming you all here. Then we'll have some remarks from Dana regarding processes and information from Denver Human Services. And then we'll also hear from Bryn Daly regarding our donations and drives. And then we'll go into our presenters. So first we have Cassie Scott, who's the program manager from Community Resources at DRCOG. Perla, who's the director of Office on Aging and DenverConnect program, and Crystal Porter, who's the manager of the Denver Intellectual and Developmental Disabilities Equitable Access to Services, or IDEAS program. So why don't we start with Dana just saying hello, and then we'll move around.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Dana Niemela, Director of Community Outreach and Resource Engagement. Thank you for being here today.
Bryn.
Hello, my name is Bryn Daly. I'm the Donations and Drives Coordinator at Denver Human Services. Hope you all are doing well.
And Cassie.
Hi, my name is Cassie Scott. I am a program manager with the Area Agency on Aging at DRCOG.
And Perla.
Good morning and happy Friday. My name is Perla Gaylor. I am the director for the Office on Aging and the DenverConnect program for the city and the county of Denver.
And last but not least, Crystal.
Good morning, everyone. Crystal Porter, happy to be here. Looking forward to talking to you about our Denver IDEAS program, formerly known as the Mill Levy program.
Perfect. Thank you so much, guys. And I did just want to let our attendees know we're going to have a little bit of a change in the agenda. So as you can see there, we have our answers to the Q&A at the end of this presentation. We're actually going to allow our presenters to answer questions at the end of their presentation. So please be sure to be putting questions in the Q&A box. We'll make sure to publish them, get them to our presenters. And then I also wanted to note that if we have more questions that we can answer, we'll put together a follow-up document and be able to get that all to you after the presentation. So without further ado, I'm going to send it back over to Dana to give some Denver Human Services updates.
Thank you so much, Christopher. Yes, good morning. Dana Niemela, Director of Community Outreach and Resource Engagement. First, I really just want to express my gratitude for all of you for participating in today's event. We are certainly living in strange times over the course of the last 6 months here in Denver County, and we know that communicating and working together as partners with our community members is really crucial when it comes to getting information to the people who need it the most as far as our services are concerned. So thank you for being here. I'm also going to give a little caveat while I'm presenting because I have my canine companions around me in the house. They're always by my side, and Right now, they're not looking out the window, so we should have a quiet nappy time. But just in case something happens, I just wanted to give you the caveat. I might have to mute myself briefly to interject. So hopefully they just stay rested. And so just to get us started, we wanted to talk a little bit about some of the stuff that Human Services has been up to for the last 6 months in order to help make our services more accessible to the community, being that our building has been closed to the public and will continue to remain closed at this time. But we also realize that the programs and offerings that we have at Human Services are really critical to the health and safety and overall well-being of people in Denver County. So we've been working really hard over the last 6 months to try to be innovative and creative in how we deliver our services. And we're going to talk about each one of these options, our in-person EBT card pickup, the document runner program, how we're hosting some citywide COVID testing, and the two offerings as it relates to public benefits. We wanted to give a heads up around some of the workload as it relates to your maybe SNAP and Medicaid cases, as well as a brief overview of the pandemic EBT that is available to families with children. And so with no further ado, we'll launch right into that. And so DHS is off. We recognized early on that mailing EBT cards to SNAP recipients wasn't the best answer for everyone. And so what we have developed over the course of the last couple of months is an EBT card pickup option for people who want to come to our Castro site at 1200 Federal. I almost forgot our address. That's interesting. It must have been a while since I've been there and referenced somebody to come to our building. But if folks have issues with receiving mail or have more of an urgent need to pick up their EBT card in person, there is an option for that. And those services are by appointment only, so we encourage folks to call our 720-944-4DHS line to make an appointment. And when you come, you'll be able to drive up, and we have staff who will run the EBT card out to customers so they don't have to get out of their cars, they don't have to come into the building, and really just help keep them safe and protected. So we wanted to make sure that everybody was aware that that is an option. And again, encourage you to direct folks to the 4DHS line to call and make their appointment for pickup. So that's one of the, I guess you could say, innovative things that maybe a lot of other private sector businesses have been doing for a long time. We finally got on board and decided, hey, why don't we try this? And so far it's been working out quite well. Okay, moving on. We also have what we're calling the Document Runner program, and this is a really important program. We're gonna try to share this video with you. For folks who don't have online access to applications, if you're a first-time applicant for benefits, you can call our line and use the Document Runner program. So let's go ahead and run that video. Hopefully we get it all working.
When the pandemic hit, we were trying to figure out how are people going to get to us. Our building's closed. If you don't have internet, you're kind of stuck. The logical step is go to them. Our senior management was really thinking outside the box. They came up with this program that we can go to people's homes with applications.
Hi, this is Mona with Denver Human Services. I just want to let you know I dropped off your application at your door.
So our applications are both in English and in Spanish, and it's one application that can get you signed up for Medicaid, food assistance, long-term care, and we also have other applications that will be specific to what the client may need, child support, things of that nature.
On to the next.
So for us to come to your home, you have to be a first-time application. You're not in our system at all, and you don't have access to the internet. The phone number that we give out, the 720-944-1520, is strictly for setting up the pickup and drop off for the applications. The address gets routed to me through email, and any special requirements, place it under the mat, ring the doorbell, however it works, and we deliver it right to your door. And then when they are done, I I go back and pick it up and deliver it straight to the office. And we screen that out because the people that are in our system, we can answer their questions over the phone and get them the help they need. Once I bring the application back and place it in the Dropbox, an employee of Denver Human Services comes down approximately every half an hour, clears out the box, takes it upstairs and starts processing it. The priority is on getting the people what they need now. We're hitting any address in the city and county of Denver. I put on 500 miles on my car in the last 3 days, so there's quite the need out there. But I hope I drive 1,000, whatever we need to do to help the community. The rewarding part is hearing later on that they did receive what they needed. The challenging thing is that there's a lot of people out there that need help, and I hope we can really reach them. Hola. So if you've never applied for benefits before and you don't have access to the internet, please call 720-944-1520 and we'll be on our way with an application to you. Everybody's in this together. We are doing whatever we can to get you what you need. So please, please reach out to us. We're here to help you. That's our main goal.
All right. And so there you have it, firsthand from one of our document runners, Mona. I think what I hope everyone knows is that we really are working hard. We've got a tremendous cadre of employees who really are thinking outside of the box and trying to do the best they can to help folks in our communities. So again, if you know of somebody who could benefit from this service as a first-time applicant, we really encourage calling that 720-944-1520 line, and we can make it happen. And then again, if anybody who isn't a first-time applicant, if they have questions about their current benefits, they can always access their case online, Colorado, on the PEAK website, as well as by calling 944-4DHS and talk to a person to get more information on their case. So those are, as opposed to, most people are used to coming to our buildings and asking in person. We really encourage folks to access us online or over the phone. But yeah, if you've got a first-time applicant, please refer them to this program. And with that, we're going to move into a little bit of our citywide COVID-19 testing. This is pretty awesome. We have partnered with the Denver Public Health Department of Public Health and Environment, DDPHE, Denver Department of Public Health and Environment, our alphabet soup in the city, and Wellness Winnie, which is a mobile testing site. And I think this is something that is of particular interest for perhaps seniors and folks who can't get out of their houses easily if they have a need or a desire to be tested for COVID. Encourage folks to call 311 for more information about how you might qualify for a Wellness Winnie visit that can come straight to your house, and they'll schedule that for you. Also through 311, they can provide information on other sites that might be community-based. I don't have the exact schedule. We'll send it out in a follow-up email, but we're starting to host COVID testing sites at our East office on 38th and Steele. So keep your eyes open for that opportunity. That'll be one Saturday a month that they'll have a mobile testing site at our East office as well. So COVID-19 testing available right there in your community. All right, let's talk a little bit about benefits and what's going on. So we obviously, it may not be a surprise to anyone that we experienced quite an uptick in applications for public benefits around March and April. At the same time, the federal government enacted several waivers that allowed people to bypass interviews, recertification processes, and so on and so forth to make it easier to get access to those benefits. And so at the end of July, I believe it was, many of those waivers expired and were not renewed by the federal government. And so what we're seeing now is, as those renewals are coming up for applications that were submitted in March and April, all of their recertifications are going to be coming due through September through November. And then naturally, we tend to see an uptick in applications during open enrollment in October. So we usually see a spike in activity September through November anyway, as it relates to public benefits applications. And so what you might experience are some extended wait times on the phone. We've been doing great through COVID, answering calls very quickly and being able to resolve issues, but we are anticipating an increased workload over the course of the next couple of months as we navigate these recertification periods and new applications that are coming in as well. So really encourage folks to access the PEAK website, which is there on the slide, coloradogov.peak, to check the status of their application and to submit any documents that they may need for recertification. You can also get a free My CO Benefits app in the App Store on the phone if folks have mobile technology that allows them to do that, so that they can check on the status of their case. We just wanted to make sure that everyone was aware that we may be anticipating some additional wait times as it relates to benefits, but we're also ramping up all of our staffing and have all hands on deck in terms of processing, with the hopes that we don't see any delays in delivering benefits to folks. So we wanted to give that heads up. And then this is a plea to all of you who are in the community. If you're working with families, I don't know how many of you are aware of the pandemic EBT benefit that has been issued. This is extraordinary for families with children. It's particularly, I'm going to scroll through my notes because I don't want to screw up the information. I want to give you good information. It's for families with children who are eligible for free and reduced price school meals. And you're thinking about moving into the COVID environment, all of those free and reduced lunches for breakfast and lunches that were provided by the schools were no longer available to people in the virtual environment and schooling from home. And so families can receive up to $279 per eligible child to add to their food budget, which is really quite extraordinary. So if anybody had a current case with children on it, those benefits should have been loaded automatically. If you know of families who didn't receive that benefits and they have children on their case, you'll want to visit the Colorado we're going to post the website. I'm not going to read the website because I'll mess it up, but the Colorado website that has, it's all going through the state. So it'll be a state website. You can go in there and apply or get more information on how to apply. What's really important to note is this benefit expires. The last application or inquiry has to be submitted by September 23rd. If they wait until September 24th, they won't be eligible for the benefit, and it's a one-time payment. Really want to encourage folks to go online. It's been, as far as I'm concerned, surprisingly underutilized, because that is a considerable addition to a household budget, $279 per child in the household. So we really encourage you to check out the website. And if you know of families who have kids on their case, $279 per kid, that is pretty awesome. And then just one last thing that I wanted to mention, we've gone through these crazy cycles over the course of the last 6 months with eviction moratoriums and delayed rent payments and so on and so forth. I just wanted to make sure that you all knew that one of the other services that we've moved online is our general assistance application. And David's going to post a link to, it's on the denvergov.org/human services website. You can click to get assistance and apply for general assistance, and you can apply online for rental assistance if that's something that's needed. So you don't have to come into our buildings anymore. We can do it all online, and we'll send out a flyer after the meeting with our contact information. For those who don't have digital access, you can also call in and we can process an application over the phone. So I wanted to make sure that you all were aware of those offerings, that we've moved to digital and telephone access, so we can reach people who would normally be planning a day-long trip to come to DHS to get those services. They can do it from home. And with that, I'd really invite any questions, comments, feedback. It's really important to us. You all are the advocates for the people we mutually serve, and we'd love to hear from you about what we're doing well, what opportunities we have to improve our services to make sure we're connecting with those most in need in our community. And feel free at any time, if something comes up throughout the course of this community network meeting, if you think of something, please post it in the Q&A. If I'm happy to answer questions right now, if there are any, to the best of my ability. And if after the fact we need to circle back, we'll make sure you get the information. But please share with us if you have any feedback or ideas or questions that you have. And I think I'm done, right, Christopher?
Yes, I think we've got one question in here. It says, is this only for residents of Denver County? I live in Adams County. They didn't give specific on which program, but maybe just a brief summary of what's specific to Denver, what's specific to the state.
So all of the services that we mentioned or issues that we mentioned are for Denver County Human Services customers, with the exception of the pandemic EBT. That's a statewide program and option. So anybody in any county in Colorado is eligible for the pandemic EBT. And all of the document runner program, the curbside pickup, and the online applications for Denver County assistance is specific to Denver County residents, but PEAK is the option to do inquiries on benefits and status of benefits for the whole state as well. Hopefully that answers that question.
Yeah, and then we have one more question real quick. It says, is the PEBT only eligible for folks who already get food stamps? And does it count as a public charge for immigrant communities?
Whew, that's a good question. And Kathy, you can back me up if you know better than I do. New applicants can apply for pandemic EBT. So new applicants are welcome. I would reference the state website that David posted in the Q&A for additional questions on that. So it's not just for existing SNAP customers. And then in terms of public charge, I don't have a good answer for that. Kathy, do you happen to know?
Yes, I do. It does not count toward the public charge, is what I've been told. We just did a training yesterday. Also, individuals that are undocumented are able to apply for the pandemic EBT as well.
All right. Thank you, Kathy. Appreciate that information.
Okay, and then there's one final question, and then we will move forward. Again, just a reminder, if we do not get to everyone's questions, we will do a follow-up with any that we missed. But the last question for Dana, how do you apply for property tax rebate in Denver? Can we do it online?
There is a link to our property tax rebate on our website, denvergov.org/human services, and we can get that link up for you as well. And so all the information will be made available.
And I can mention that it's actually on the home page right away. You'll see a link that takes you to that page for the property tax, and also it's right below where it says additional assistance.
Okay. Thank you, Kathy.
All right, well, thank you so much, Dana, for all that information. We're going to move along to Bryn Daly, who is the Donations and Drives Coordinator with Denver Human Services, to discuss some current needs.
All right, thank you so much. Thank you so much for having me. Again, my name is Bryn. I'm the Donations and Drives Coordinator at DHS. As some of you know, our regular Spring Showers Hygiene Drive that's normally in May was canceled this year due to the effects of the pandemic and the transition of DHS services from in-person to online / over the phone. As we continue our online services, we're also mobilizing to get hygiene items to families and individuals experiencing homelessness within our emergency shelters and housing programs so that they can still receive this support even while DHS services remain online and over the phone. We're seeking these most needed hygiene items listed here to help these customers during this time, and for the remainder of the year. So many of you have supported our Spring Showers Hygiene Drive, and so if you're interested in ways to help us collect hygiene this year, we'll be focusing on these items, and the next slide we've got listed ways that you could help us. You can have any hygiene donation of these most needed items sent straight to DHS via our Amazon wish list, which I have linked on this slide, and I have a few links on these slides, and I hope we're sharing these slides actually with everybody. Yes, perfect. So that you can have these links. If you choose to use the Amazon wish list, those items can be sent straight to our address that's already linked to this wish list. Or if you have a more preferred shipping service, any shipping service is totally fine to send any hygiene items to us using this address here, Denver Human Services, attention, Bryn Deli Corps, 1200 Federal Boulevard. Just make sure within the package or within a quick email to me that you share your contact info so I can get you your tax receipt right away. And then the other two ways to help in the next slide. If you're interested in making a monetary donation, you can find our monetary donation link at denvergov.org/give. There's a few donation buttons, as you'll see, to choose from, and we can go shopping with your donation and get those hygiene items as we're needing them throughout the remainder of the year. We'll also have social media posts on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram several times throughout the remainder of this year with our Amazon wishlist link and most needed hygiene items. If you follow our channels and share those posts with your community, that would be also such an amazing support as well. We're so grateful to work with you and for all of your amazing work for our older adults and individuals with disabilities within our community. Thank you so much for your time and for all of your work. If you have any questions, please reach out to me. And thank you so much again.
Thank you, Bryn. It's a great program you have there. All right, so we are going to move along and get started with our topic presenters. So first up is Cassie Scott with DRCOG.
Yeah, thank you. My name is Cassie Scott. Like I mentioned earlier, I am a program manager for our community resource team, which is part of the Aging and Disability Resource Center at the Area Agency on Aging at DRCOG. So I'll talk a little bit about how all of that works together. You can go to the next slide. The Area Agency on Aging is one division of the Denver Regional Council of Governments. So the Denver Regional Council of Governments is well known for some of our projects like Bike to Work Day. We do a lot of regional planning, transportation planning. So I just like to point out that we're part of that Council of Governments, but the Area Agency on Aging at DRCOG is a federally mandated program through the Older Americans Act. So that means that every county in the nation has an Area Agency on Aging. Our Area Agency on Aging serves Broomfield, Adams, Denver, Arapahoe, Douglas, Jefferson, Gilpin, and Clear Creek. So if you guys ever have loved ones, friends, or family across the country who need services because they have a disability or they're over 60, I always suggest that you just Google the Area Agency on Aging for their region to get their information. But I'm going to tell you guys today about the Area Agency on Aging for the Denver region. So we can go to the next slide. The Area Agency on Aging, we really take a very holistic approach to providing services and care for older adults. More specifically, we do have services for people with disabilities who are over 18, but our primary focus is older adults. We do a lot of collaboration across the counties to put together projects. We do a lot of surveys and planning to identify needs, find service gaps, and put together programs to help meet those needs. We do a lot of advocacy. We work with the legislators to put services and funding for our population. We also have advocates who work in skilled nursing facilities and assisted living facilities. That's our ombudsman program. That's the original purpose of the Area Agency on Aging. So I'm going to give you guys some phone numbers here in a bit, but if you guys ever have concerns about loved ones who are in facilities, especially right now with COVID, please call our ombudsman team to get information about how to get support for those people. We fund a lot of services. We put the most of our funding back into the community through our contractors. So we fund services like transportation with our contractors. Some of the biggest ones you guys might be aware of are VIA and RTD. We fund in-home services like personal care, homemaker, chore services. All of these services are free to people over 60. This includes counseling, Meals on Wheels. We have congregate meal sites that are doing to-go meals right now during COVID so that people can still have access to a hot meal on a regular basis. We also coordinate with all of the councils on aging across the region. So every county has a council on aging where interested members come together and they do planning and they discuss some of the challenges for older populations. And so we participate in those conversations to help identify needs and find solutions for services. We also provide some services in-house. So I'm going to talk about our Aging and Disability Resource Center specifically, but we also have services including transition services for people who are returning to the community after living in a skilled nursing facility. We have a partnership with the VA that does case management for veteran-directed care, where veterans can hire loved ones, family members to provide the care that they need in their home. We participate in several advisory committees to just really have a voice. I think that that's a large purpose with the AAA is we're constantly coordinating with other people to make sure that the region is aware of what the needs of the population is and how we can work together across the region to meet those needs. So one of those ways is through our Aging and Disability Resource Center. So if you want to go to the next slide, these are some of the programs. Our Aging and Disability Resource Center has been growing immensely over the last few years, but these are the important ones that I really want you guys to take note of, because if you reach out to this phone number, the 303-480-6700 number, we can connect you to all of the different programs that our Aging and Disability Resource Center and the Area Agency on Aging provide, and we can connect you to all of our contractors. This includes our Network of Care website, where we also provide a bunch of different information about our internal programs and our service directory, so I'll talk a little bit more about that. We have our information and assistance line. We have options counseling. We have an elder refugee program, intensive case management for older adults, and our state health insurance and assistance program. So on our network of care, we have a total of, I think this actually is kind of, my slide might be a little cut off. We have 4 different websites. Our online service directory we have online service, no, this is what it is. We have 4 different websites. We have our aging and disability resource site, the military members, veterans, and their families site, and our intellectual and developmental disability sites. Those all have online service directories that include thousands of resources in the community, including public benefits, nonprofits, some for-profit agencies that specialize in serving those populations. And then the 4th one that's not listed here does not have an online service directory. It's our public health site that just adds or provides a lot of demographics and information about the public health needs of our region. So you can go back just a little bit, one back, yeah, thank you. On our network of care, you'll also find our program brochures. So if you want to look at any of the programs that I've mentioned today, you can find that on our aging and disability resource site. We post community announcements. We have a DME catalog. So if someone is curious about the different types of walkers that maybe they need, if they want to kind of shop around the catalog and bring their ideas to their doctor before they get a script for their DME, that's a good use for that. We have a symptom checker. I mentioned the service directories. There's also a link, an option there for if someone wants to learn about different medications, you can see what medications are used, how they're used to treat different conditions, their side effects. They actually have pictures of the different ways that one type of medication might look from different manufacturers, or if it's more of a generic drug. So that's a really awesome online tool for people to start. That's our DRCOG network of care. So the next slide. Next is our information and assistance line. This is always where I tell people to start. If you want to get a hold of us at the Area Agency on Aging, this is your first line of contact. So we're open Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. And I don't know, I apologize, that phone number is not correct. It's 303-480-6700. I'll type that into the announcement. But what we do on the information assistance line is we connect older adults, caregivers, and adults with disabilities to community resources and benefits. People who call in will receive a phone assessment to help identify their needs and direct their, oh, I'm so sorry. They'll receive phone assessment to identify needs and their direction through instruction and advocacy to access services and supports. Mostly what we're doing on the information assistance line is we're connecting people to our contractors. That's our largest referral. And we also will help provide information on some of our internal programs for transportation and home care. So the next slide. So options counseling is part of the information and assistance team, the community resource team. It is a little bit more intensive. So people who receive options counseling, they also get an assessment. Pre-COVID, those assessments were often done in the home, where we would meet with a family, we would get to know their person and their natural supports, and we would help identify their goals. And then the family and the individual would receive an action plan for resources and services to help meet their needs. This might include advocacy and assistance with some complicated applications. It's available to people 60 and over or adults with disabilities and their caregivers. And then we also have our refugee options counseling program for more specific services for people who are dealing with immigration and learning to adjust to living in a new culture. They do a lot of nutritional information. They've been doing a lot of outreach, helping refugees understand the pandemic and some of the hygiene requirements around that. So that's our options counseling program. And then we also have intensive case management for older adults. So this is available also to people 60 and over. They receive a comprehensive needs plan and a person-centered care plan, follow up with service coordination, connection with medical, non-medical, and mental health professionals and other services. They get benefit application assistance and caregiver support. And then we also have a specialized group of case managers who do Spanish-speaking case management, including immigration, citizenship, translation, employment, and healthcare. And then we have our state health insurance and assistance program. This is the program that focuses on providing support to Medicare beneficiaries. It helps people who might be turning 65 and enrolling into Medicare for the first time, people who are on SSDI and receiving Medicare. We can help people select their Medicare Advantage plans during open enrollment or their initial enrollment. We can help with appeals, help people determine how they're going to afford their medications. We also have our Senior Medicare Patrol program, which is part of the SHIP, and they help educate beneficiaries to prevent Medicare errors and fraud. So this is another phone line that's open Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. Their phone number is 480-6835, and you can email them, ship@drcog.org, or they also have an online area on their website where you can ask questions and submit it through that venue, and then someone will call and follow up with your questions. So that's it.
All right, perfect. Just seeing if we have, okay, so it looks like we have a couple questions here for you. First question is the DRCOG travel voucher pilot program still running?
It is, yes, you can call our INA line for information on that. That's the 303-480-6700.
Perfect, and they posted that actually in the question too. And then is it still within 20 miles of the senior's home?
Yes, as of right now it is.
Perfect, thank you. And then one last question for you. Is there a place a senior can get assistance without, oh, excuse me, let me start again. Is there a place a senior can get assistance with replacing a broken hot water heater?
It depends. They would have to call our information assistance line, and we can talk through some options to see if there might be programs available to them, just depending on what the situation is.
All right, well, perfect. Well, thank you so much. We'll just move right along here. Up next is Perla Geiler with Office on Aging and DenverConnect program.
Good morning again. Just want to thank you for taking the time out of your day to listen to our presentations, and also just take time to remember 9/11 and what happened there, and for all those who perished, and for those families. I lived in New York City for 3 years, so that's near and dear to my heart. If we move to the next slide, I just want to go in and let you know what Office on Aging and DenverConnect and how we fit into the city system. Our Office on Aging is under the Agency for Human Rights and Community Partnerships. We share that office with 11 other offices. For example, we have an office on disability rights, we have an office on strategic partnerships, we have an office on financial empowerment. So we're very closely with the other 10 offices in the work that we do that does a lot of community outreach for at-risk individuals in the city and county of Denver. In 2015, we launched a report about age matters assessment, and we looked at how the city and county of Denver was reacting to our growing older adult population. And we partnered with the AARP and World Health Network to become an age-friendly city. We were one of the first, actually the first city to become age-friendly with AARP in the state of Colorado. Since then, there have been over 300 cities, towns, and counties that have also been introduced as an age-friendly city. And last year, we announced that the state of Colorado was going to be the third state to be an age-friendly state. So we're in good company when we look at some of the services and resources that we offer to our older adults for aging and aging in a friendly city. In our Office of Aging, we also have the Denver Commission on Aging. These are mayoral appointees that come together, volunteer. They come together on a monthly basis, and we discuss challenges that are facing our aging community. Most of them work in the aging realm, and so we work together to advocate for older adults, whether it's through public policy changes. We do empowerment and workshops to educate older adults on how to live in their own homes and to age in place. We also talk about events that are going on in the community that we can share with older adults. And so this is something that we do every month. It's the third Thursday of every month, and it is open to the public, so you're more than welcome to join us in any of these conversations that we have about the aging community. We also produce an older adult resource guide. In that guide, we list many of the resources that the Office on Aging works with in partnership that can provide a service to an older adult. I know there was a question about, does DRCOG help with fixing or replacing a water heater? In our resource guide, it lists a lot of organizations like Brothers Redevelopment or DURA that can provide help in these areas. So this research guide is something that we hand out to older adults. We often get calls from older adults to mail them a copy, and we do have it on our website. So if you wanted to download it, it is on our website. We also launched a program called DenverConnect last April of 2019, and I'll get into why we launched that program further in this presentation. Next slide. So the Office on Aging, our purpose is to advocate for Denver's older population, and by doing that, we help local agencies develop policies and programs that will improve the quality of life and accessibility and a positive culture for aging residents, no matter their income, health, or any of that. We want to make sure that our older folks are aging in place and aging safely, and that we're providing all the necessary resources to do so. With that, we realized that there was a lot of information and resources and services available to our older adults within the city and county of Denver, not just with the city government resources, but also with our nonprofit partners. And a lot of older adults weren't aware of these services or resources available to them. And many, because they are at risk, don't have internet access or just don't have the access to get the information. And so we wanted to take information to where people are and communicate with people in place. So we came up with the idea of DenverConnect, which connects older adults to information, services, and resource through our pop-up office of a mobile resource van. And I would be remiss if I didn't mention that DRCOG Area Agency on Aging is one of our biggest partners. They helped fund our staff navigator, which is Olga Garcia, and you may have met her because she's always out in the community doing a lot of work with our older population, but also with our nonprofit partners. Through this, her position is paid for by a DRCOG grant to the Area Agency on Aging. I also am a participant and serve on the Area Agency on Aging Advisory Council, which meets once a month to talk about all the issues facing our aging population. And I would also be remiss if I didn't mention our other partner in funding, which is Stop Fraud, which is our Attorney General's office on Stop Fraud. And so we do a lot of work with them in prevention for older adults that are being scammed and making awareness about some of the frauds that are happening out there, especially right now during COVID and the census. Next slide. Next slide. Yeah. So this is our van. It's called DenverConnect. We launched last April, and we're really excited because we've been able, since April of 2019, we've been to over 300 events. Of course, that has been stifled by COVID, but we still are getting out there, and you'll see us now. We're going to be working with the county clerk and recorder on helping older adults get their ballots dropped off and making sure that every vote counts. We're also still doing work around the census, and we do a lot of work with our city council members in engaging our older adults. So this is what our van looks like. If you look at the next page, as I mentioned, since our launch last April, we have been able to connect over 9,500 constituents to information and resources. Recently, we were working with an individual that had a hoarding issue and was getting fines. We've also worked with individuals looking for food pantries. We've also worked with caretakers. We have been doing just numerous activity to help during this COVID pandemic, but also just helping older adults in general with yard cleanup, referring them to programs that will help them age in place and make their life a little easier. Next slide. Again, I mentioned some of the areas of concerns that our office deals with is fraud and scams. We work with Stop Fraud with the Attorney General's office. We've done virtual workshops on how to see signs of fraud and what to make sure, preventable tips on how to avoid fraud. We also work with ARP Elder Watch. We do a lot of work with Host and Nest in housing. We do receive calls from older adults that are looking for housing options, and so we connect them to the right source within our city agency, or if they're looking for something through Sunshine Home Share or other areas of housing. As I mentioned, we've been doing a lot of work during COVID around food insecurity. We have provided food bags to many of the food pantries here in Metro Denver. We also refer individuals if they cannot get out of their home to Meals on Wheels, and also to other partners like Denver Food Mission and Bondadosa, who delivers food for free to individuals who cannot get out of their home. We work around safety. We've been doing a lot of work with Vision Zero in having conversations about longer pedestrian walk times, bigger fonts so that people can see the speed zones and be more careful about older adults crossing streets and people with disabilities. So really working closely with that department. We've been working with our economic development team around workforce. We know that a lot of older people, 50 plus, are still working and often face a lot of ageism. And so we've been working very closely with our workforce development and how to train some of our older adults in looking for continued work or starting a new career. And we have seen a lot of success around keeping our older adults employed if they still want to work. Lastly, working with transportation and mobility. We work very closely with Dr. Mack, and we use all their materials about getting around through public transit or other modes of transportation that are available. You just heard from DRCOG some of their areas of using transportation, like the Hop Skip program, voucher program. We work very closely with referring individuals to these transportation modes, but we also work with some of them directly to make sure that our older adults get to the doctor or to the grocery store or even a salon to make sure that they are being properly taken care of. Next slide. And as I mentioned, some of the things that we've been doing over COVID, since we can't be out in the community as much as we were prior to, we've been working with a lot of food banks and providing bags to put food in for older adults. We recently, with Councilwoman Gilmore and Councilwoman Black, did a census fraud and bingo. So we talked about the census and how important it was to be counted. We talked about the areas of fraud and scams through census, and while doing all of this while playing bingo and giving out some gift cards to the participants, some of our older adults in each of those districts. We participated in the Denver Days Parade. As you may know, Denver Days was kind of a get together amongst neighbors, block parties, barbecues, picnics, and with COVID, we were unable to do that. But through the mayor's office, we were able to do a parade through various neighborhoods with the DenverConnect van and some of the members of the city to just go out and wave to people. We saw a lot of older adults come out of their homes and smile just to see people coming through and caring about how they are and really just spreading some happiness there. We participate regularly on our ARP COVID Q&A to find out the latest and greatest information on what's going around the country as it relates to COVID in older adults, because we know that older adults are the most vulnerable when it comes to the COVID pandemic. We've also been participating on Facebook Live webinars with Center for African American Health and some of our Latino organizations to make sure that we're keeping up with what preventive measures we can share with our community for the African American and Latino community as it regards to COVID and other health issues. As I mentioned earlier, we work very closely with DRCOG and Dr. Mack on various issues. I mean, Network of Care is one of our go-to websites in sharing information with people that are calling our office. And then some of the new programs that we're working with as far as technology, we're working very closely with Senior Planet Technology to train older adults on technology virtually, and also getting access to those individuals who do not have technology at this time. It would help with the isolation, with mental health, and also with voter registration. So we're working on all those items right now during COVID to hopefully launch some more technology to our older adults in the near future. Next slide. Here's our DenverConnect van out in the community. In our next slide, you will see the interior is completely done. It's like an office. We have a desk and a printer and computers. We have a TV screen where we show information about other departments that are important for older adults. We have ADA accessibility, so if you wanted to come in the van, if it was cold outside, we could meet with you one-on-one there. We have an awning for sun protection if people are waiting outside of the van. So we really have been able to make this a pop-up office and something that we use to go into the community, and we'll be back in the community again for voter registration and ballot pickup. And we do get calls from organizations to come visit, and so we go to other organizations to show how we utilize the DenverConnect van. Next slide. And this is our information if you need to get a hold of us. We probably receive close to, I would say, 300 calls a month in people asking about a service for an aging person or the older adult calling themselves about something that they need to resolve. And we usually call them back within a 24-hour period. And we are all about making sure that we follow up and that every question is answered and that the help that we serve is through a reliable source. And so If you have anyone that has any needs that is aging, or a caretaker that has some questions, please give us a call. We're happy to help you. And please check out our website on aging, where there's numerous resources.
Thank you, Perla, so much. That's a lot of great information. So we did have a couple questions pop up. So first one was a little bit earlier, and this one might be able to be answered by any of our presenters. So whoever wants to take it, go for it. So the question is, for families that are caring for the ailing, for ailing parents, are there programs to help them financially care for those parents?
I'm gonna give that to Dana or DRCOG, because they might have funding available, but I'm sure that there might be some. It's not through my office, however.
I don't know of funding that's available to pay for caregivers. This is Cassie at DRCOG. We would have some like caregiver support programs. We could look into bringing caregivers into the home to provide some respite for caregivers. But the only program that I'm aware of that reimburses caregivers is through Medicaid, and if the person is undocumented and they do not qualify for Medicaid, I don't know of another program that would reimburse caregivers.
I agree with you. There's programs like Capable, which has a nurse come into the home. They will do some light housekeeping. They will make sure the medication is correctly taken. They will converse with the older adult, but I don't know if they don't pay for that service to a family member, but they're a great way to get some rest from the individual taking care of the older adult.
Yeah, and I always encourage people, just call the information and assistance line, because if we can't get payment, if we can't get any type of financial reimbursement, there might still be other financial programs that the family can qualify for to help with other expenses that might help, you know, the budgetary issue in the family, but not necessarily for a family member to get paid.
Perfect. All right. And then the last question we have before we move on to Crystal, and I'm going to butcher the name and I apologize, but we have someone that asked, how do you spell Bondosa who delivers food?
Bondosa.
Bondosa. Thank you.
If you call them, it's BANDAOSA. And actually, let me look at the website and I'll post it in the chat, or give it to you, Chris, to post in the chat.
Perfect. Thank you.
Okay.
All right. So next we have Crystal Porter, and I will just let her take it away.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Chris. And thank you everyone for being here this morning. I'm excited to talk to you about my program. So as mentioned earlier, I am the program manager for the Denver Intellectual and Developmental Disabilities Equitable Access to Services program. No, that's a mouthful, so it's going to be known as the Denver Ideas program, probably wherever you see it in future. We are formerly known as the DHS Mill Levy program, but because there are a lot of Mill Levy programs out there, and we really wanted a clear identity in the community and something that tied us to our work, we worked on a name change earlier this year. So I'm going to talk to you a little bit today about some of the services that we already have available and how you can get involved with our program. Slide, please. And before we go into the services, I do want to briefly touch on who our program is meant to serve and how our funds are dedicated. So our funds are dedicated specifically to helping Denver residents with intellectual and developmental disabilities and their families. And so we have a lot of different aspects of the eligibility criteria. So children up to age 5 with developmental delays are also covered. People seeking a developmental disability or delayed determination are also covered. Persons experiencing homelessness that present in Denver are also eligible for services with the the IDEAS program. And I would also like to just mention that we do also support immigrants and refugees. So if they're undocumented, or if there's someone that maybe is not really connected in to the traditional system of services, if they live in Denver and they have a documented intellectual and developmental disability, they could still qualify for services and supports with our program. There is a really good way that we have a couple of tools in which it's easy, makes it a little easier to determine whether you actually live in the city and county of Denver. Having a mailing address alone is not criteria for being considered a Denver resident. And so if you have questions, that would be something that I would recommend that you reach out to either DHS on a later date. We have some information on our website, and we also work with our partners to make sure that they're getting this information out to folks when they have questions about eligibility. Slide, please. I'm not going to spend too much time on this slide here today, but I did want to kind of briefly touch on one of our largest partners, Rocky Mountain Human Services. Rocky Mountain Human Services is the community center board serving Denver County, and they are, as many of you probably know, responsible for a lot of different services, including waiver and DD eligibility determinations and case management. Our DHS contracts with Rocky Mountain Human Services to provide services and supports through mill levy funds. So they are one of our largest partners and have been the most longstanding partner as the sole partner that we had since the program's inception. You'll also see just kind of a brief summary of what we do, and I'm going to go into that in a little bit more detail. Slide, please. So the Denver IDEAS program, we actually have multiple components, and as you can imagine, these different components allow for different ways of engagement with our program. So first and foremost, it is our responsibility to administer and oversee mill levy funds through contracts with different community providers for IDD services. We are making determinations kind of daily right now to determine where funds are needed and how we can best support our residents with IDD amidst this global pandemic that we're all experiencing, amidst the resulting economic crisis, and all the gaps in services in between that we're trying to address. We do have an advisory council that meets at least 4 times a year. Those meetings are announced on our website. I can provide links to some of these things for you guys in the chat, but we do have a dedicated page for our advisory council that captures the meetings and what has occurred in the meetings and some of the recommendations that are coming out from this group. That is their primary goals, to make recommendations to DHS on needs that they're either aware of or have learned about and researched in their time on the council, to help us determine the best way we can meet needs in Denver and support residents both now and in the future. And finally, we want to be the central touch point. I think before we were very much behind the scenes, and our program has really taken a step forward into the spotlight. And we do have myself as a contact here at DHS, as well as other supportive team members that can be available. So we're a really good connecting point for all the various IDD mill levy services and resources that could be available to Denver residents. And so a great starting point for somebody that's maybe looking for more information, and we can always get you connected into partners that we're working with to provide services. Slide, please. I'm not going to go into this too far, but there are some really helpful documents and links in here for those of you that are not familiar with the Rocky Mountain Human Services eligibility process. It looks a little bit different. There's some different contacts for different age groups. So you can see they've got early intervention and family services and supports program. So starting there is really good for anybody up to age 5. So if you're referring anybody in to try to get determined eligible, that would be the best contact to start with. Anybody over age of 5 looking to be determined eligible for some of the Medicaid waivers dedicated to serving people with IDD, I would recommend that intake referrals email. And then finally, Rocky Mountain's done a really great job of putting information out there about their mill levy services and what they do. And you don't have to be receiving case management services from Rocky Mountain Human Services to access the mill levy. Again, as we mentioned before, the mill levy is available to anyone so long as they are a Denver resident and they have a documented intellectual and developmental disability and have been determined eligible. So if you receive services or your client receives services from DDRC, which is the Community Centered Board for Jefferson County, or developmental pathways with Arapahoe and Douglas counties, they could still actually live in Denver city and county lines and be accessing services through another organization. And so they have the ability to apply for assistance online. And obviously you can email the Mill Levy program and get connected if you have questions about the services and resources. Two of the really big outward facing components that I want to touch on with our Rocky Mountain Human Services Mill Levy program are the direct client assistance, which I'm about to go into more detail on in a second, as well as community partner services. So one of the great things that RMHS has available is their external agency initiatives program. Not only do they have Mill Levy services that they provide as an organization, but they work with and support community partners that are providing a diverse offering of services into the community. Anything from financial health to, peer support and mentorship spaces, lounge spaces, behavioral health services, mental health services. So it's a medley of resources and offerings and some really exciting programs coming out of that partnership. Next slide, please. So as promised, I'm going to go a little bit more into detail with the direct client assistance program, because I do think that this is something that most anybody could and might want to access if they have an intellectual and developmental disability and they're a resident of Denver. This program is very individualized. So while there are some parameters around how requests are funded, which you can see a link to an example of how that's kind of mapped out. I do believe RMHS may have updated it since they last announced it last summer, but it's pretty close. And gives people an idea of what could be available, what could be funded, what are some of the maybe funding limits, caps on certain kinds of requests. But there's all sorts of needs that can be met this way. Obviously, emergency funding for anything related to some of those really essential needs, housing, food, and clothing. That's absolutely a resource for that. We also have a lot of other things outside the box. I think one of my favorite examples that RMHS has given in the past is for a toddler that it was in services with them that had really, really bad eczema. And as you all can imagine, being in Denver with it being so dry, that really exacerbated this little one's condition. And they had a really hard time being outside to the point where their skin would be chapped or even just really, really burning pretty badly. And so the one of the things that they were able to get for this client was an eczema suit, which allowed them to play outside with friends in comfort and ease. And so there's a lot of unique items that could be available to folks given their individual situations. And so this program really is needs-based and is something that really strives to meet individuals' needs. Another one I want to highlight, since we are coming up on it, we've already had our first snow this September, are winter coats, right? There are other resources for that in the community, but this is another one as well. And so if you know of someone that is eligible for this program and is in need of a coat for winter, this would be another great resource for them. Next slide, please. In addition to some of the housing stabilization that was offered through our primary contract with Rocky Mountain Human Services, DHS has also executed an additional contract this year, primarily for housing stabilization assistance. And so, understanding the pressures that people are facing with the pandemic, with the resulting economic crisis, people maybe losing their jobs or not able to get out and work because of the safety of their loved one that they're caring for with IDD, or the person with IDD themselves may not be able to go into work and may not be able to afford rent the same way that they could before. So we really are trying to help cover some of those housing-based needs, including rent or mortgage payments, utilities, including internet service, funds that may be needed to help move somebody into a better location if they're not able to maintain their rent over time, or even some temporary housing assistance. These services can include a balance forward during the period of time which services are being provided, so May through the end of the year. So if you are working with somebody and they're now getting an eviction notice because they're 2 months behind on a utilities payment, reach out to RMHS. Again, this is for, I hate to say it, I feel like I'm probably saying it too many times, but I do like to emphasize Denver residents with intellectual and developmental disabilities, because I don't want anybody hopeful that this could be a source for them, because I know so many other people are struggling with this issue as well. But definitely something to reach out to them about and see what can be done to help. Next slide, please. And now I'm going to pivot away from Rocky Mountain Human Services and into some of our other partners that we've already established with the IDEAS program. By no means are these going to be the only partners we have. We have some other exciting projects that we are working on in the background to get up and running. But in the meantime, I do want to talk to you about these initiatives that we have active currently. So first up, we have our inclusion initiatives, which I'm very excited about. They launched earlier this year. We've had a couple bumps in the road, tweaking the models to be able to be more accessible from a remote training opportunity. But we are very excited. They're all kind of back up and running in different ways and are looking for folks to participate in their trainings. So our partners include CTAT LLC, Easter Seals Colorado, and Autism Community Store. And they're all offering variants of this training, but the goal of their work is to meet with not only those of us in the social work world that either may know about this population, may not be familiar with this population, but also with our businesses, our clubs, our organizations, our cultural hubs. We really want to reach out into our Denver community and help them get to know people with IDD, get over some of the barriers there may be to accessing their activities, their business, and help them kind of figure out how to include people with IDD in their daily activities or in their leadership, because people with IDD have a lot to offer. As a lot of you may know and be aware of, if you have somebody in your own life or you provide services or work with this population, there's so much that they have to offer and value that they can contribute into our community. And we know that they're not always seen. They're not always heard. There's been a lot of conversations in our world this year around diversity, equity, and inclusion. And people with disabilities, and particularly people with IDD or other cognitive delays and disabilities, are often left out of those conversations. And so these trainings are free. These businesses also have in-depth business consultations that can be available to businesses that want to not just take small actions, but maybe larger actions to include people with IDD in their work. So I highly recommend them. We're very excited about this initiative, and I can certainly provide some flyers to Chris to get out to the group about these trainings that are available. I briefly want to touch on each of the models. CTAT LLC, theirs is a little bit more of an individualized and community approach. So they're not providing trainings to any one business. They're open trainings that anybody can register for and sign up for. Our primary target are Denver businesses, clubs, and organizations and professionals, but we recognize that people that live in Denver don't stay in Denver. So those trainings in particular are really good if you have other partners in the metro area that are just outside of the city and county of Denver, or maybe even a little further out in Colorado, that you believe could benefit from hearing the conversations. And one thing I like to highlight, not just for CTAP, but for all of these models, is that people with IDD are actually involved in these projects. They are participating, they are active panel members and trainers and consultants that are helping develop the curriculum, are participating in the delivery of the trainings, and are a really integral part of the services being provided. So CTAT, for example, has often, I think it's usually 3 panel members of people with IDD that will sit in and answer questions and tell their story and talk about why inclusion is so important, and how there have been things, big things and small things that have made them not feel as welcome in the past, and also share their experiences of when they have felt welcome, and some really positive experiences they've had with organizations here in Denver. So definitely check those trainings out. Easter Seals Colorado, theirs is a little bit more focused on working with businesses, but offering different kinds of curriculum to meet that business's needs. still with that focus of disability etiquette and inclusion. But they have anything from lunch and learns to half day or full day seminars that they could offer to a business. And again, these sessions are completely free. They're funded through the mill levy and are meant to reach out to all of our different aspects of our community to bring them into this conversation in a way that they maybe haven't been before. Finally, our Autism Community Store project is actually focused on sensory sensitivities and how to be inclusive in a physical space. And so in the past, they've worked with some of our cultural hubs here in Denver, and they are really looking for some different partners that would be interested in engaging their model. They will meet with you directly, tailor curriculum to your staff and your location and your needs. They'll give you recommendations on some things you can maybe do in the physical space. And they even have some funding available to help support any purchases of items that might help transform a space into something that's more accessible or for someone with sensory sensitivity needs. So again, very excited about these new offerings. And if you have questions about them, happy to connect with you on that. Slide, please. This project, and you see contractor to be announced, so it's brand spanking new. We actually are very close to finalizing this agreement, and we'll be making the contractor announcement soon. But we are excited to have an offering of a mini projects fund. And so this fund, we have up to $300,000 in place that can be awarded to different community service providers and partners in the community, up to $10,000 a piece for projects that are meant to meet people where they are right now, meet people with IDD where they are right now. We know services have been disrupted for a lot of people. We know a lot of people are stuck at home. We know that technology, while it's been amazing for a lot of us to be able to continue almost without disruption in our work and in our social lives and in our even our errands that we need to run and ordering groceries online, a lot of people with IDD may not have the same support or resources to have that access. And so this fund, and in the fund announcement, there will be a lot more detail on some of the criteria for applying, but we're really looking for people that are adapting their service delivery models in really creative ways and are maybe not able to bill through traditional billing means, and that could be funded through this program. Or even if it could have been billed to Medicaid, maybe the process of adapting it and the time and the energy spent or some purchases that need to be made to make that model a success are things that need to be funded. So that could be an option, as well as just other ways to include and connect people with IDD during this very unprecedented time that we're all living in, and in that socially distanced world that I don't see changing anytime in the near future. So again, this is just another way to get involved. I do like to highlight that this is not technically a grant, it is subcontract based, which means that anybody that's awarded the $10,000, it is a reimbursement based contract. But I think there are a lot of ways that we can get there with folks, and we are looking to work with partners, big or small, and particularly small, to kind of get them involved in our program in a way that they maybe haven't been before. Slide, please. All right, so this is the fun stuff, how to get involved. So I've kind of hinted at it here and there as we've talked through what our program is currently doing, but I simply want to run through these again because we really are trying to build our presence, and we do want to be connected into our community and be hearing from you guys, professionals, as well as your clients or the people that you serve about what we can do to really bring about programs that are actually going to make a difference and support people in their lives. So number one, sign up to receive updates and announcements from our program. We have kind of an informal contact list, and we don't have we're not a newsletter or anything like that, but we do push out updates and announcements for meetings or for either surveys or assessments that we're doing or new programs that are launching or trainings that are available. So if you have any interest in just receiving a periodic email, I would say no more than one a month at the max. We definitely won't flood your inbox. Please feel free to reach out to me. I can get you signed up onto our list. Refer anyone. I think this is a pretty obvious one, but if you meet anybody in the course of your work that you believe could be eligible for IDD services, but they haven't had an eligibility assessment done, please refer them through to Rocky Mountain Human Services or their community-centered board, whoever that may be. And if you have questions about that, again, I'm happy to help connect people where they need to go. You're welcome to reach out to Rocky Mountain Human Services. You're welcome to reach out to me. I'll do what I can to support you in getting them where they need to go. Connect people you support to Denver mill levy services and community partners. This seems like an easy one, but in reality, I think there are so many people that still aren't aware of what we're doing. And so even that Rocky Mountain Human Services community partner list, they partner with like 27 organizations doing different initiatives. And they're always looking, I think, for people that could get connected into those programs. And so they have that listing online. It is linked earlier in this presentation. Go take a look, see what initiatives are out there, and see whether they might be ones that you would want to connect people into. Engage our work through written and public comments. So we actually have multiple ways that someone can make a public comment. And so we really want to make sure that we're being accessible in that way. We do have a written comment form. It's linked online through our advisory council page. And we also have public comment windows often at our mill levy advisory council meetings. They're usually about 20 minutes long, usually about 3 minutes to speak. And we welcome anyone to come and comment and provide feedback on either the services that are being provided or feedback on what services they'd like to see in the community. We don't have any current active assessment tools right now, but anytime you see our partners do them as well, surveys on how their services are going, participate in those assessment tools. If you've participated in the service itself or if it's one that DHS is asking for general feedback on, please don't hesitate to connect with us and tell us how things are going. Next slide. Got a couple more get involved here, guys. So many ways to connect into us. I strongly encourage, even if you already work with this population in your organization, to attend some of the trainings we have available or request consultations from our inclusive community partners and refer people in. You know, if you have a favorite grocery store that you shop at and you think that they should be connected in and you want to drop a comment or you know, let them know, hey, like this could be a really great thing for you. Other businesses that you work with, clubs that you participate in, you know, that's definitely something that we want to see, kind of that community connectivity and that drive for all of us together to build a more welcome and inclusive Denver for all of our residents. Obviously you can apply if you're a service organization or somebody that has a really great idea for something that can be done. You can apply to be awarded project funds currently through Rocky Mountain Human Services External Agency Initiatives or the Mini Projects Fund. They both have application windows coming up, I believe, for this fall. And so each of them would probably be announcing those on their websites. And again, if you're on that contact list, we'll probably be sending out an update as well from our side of the house. Additionally, keep an eye out. DHS is constantly looking at new programs to launch, and we may have opportunities to bid on services that we are wanting to set up in the community. And so that's another place to kind of check in and see where you could make a difference. And then finally, we do have our application window coming up for our Mill Levy Advisory Council for folks to serve for 2021 and 2022. So if you believe that you have a perspective that could really contribute to the conversation, you have the time and you want to spend it with us, we would absolutely love to have you apply. Slide, please. Great. So, and thanks again for having me. This is just some contact information, and actually I'm glad I anticipated some of this. So you can see, I mean, I think we can look for some of the direct links, but I've got my email and phone number here. We also have, if you go to denvergov.org and search either IDD Mill Levy or Mill Levy Advisory Council, you'll find our 2 pages. And if you find one, it connects to the other. And that's where a lot of our information lives right now. You can also send an email to the Advisory Council directly if you'd like. And I've got that email posted there as well. And that's all I have for you guys today, but I'm happy to answer any questions that we may have. I haven't seen any, but maybe I missed them, Chris.
Yeah, so I am going through here. It doesn't look like we have any questions specifically for you, Crystal, but I also wanted to say thank you for the presentation. Again, very good information. And we've been seeing a couple messages throughout the chat. This will be able to be re-accessed, this presentation later, so we'll make sure we get everything out. Links, all of that. But I did want to bring Cassie back on for a little additional clarification on the reimbursement for alien parents. Would you like to take that one?
Yeah, I apologize. When you said ailing parents, I heard alien parents. So I thought we were talking about people who were not, yeah, you know what I'm talking about. So If they qualify for Medicaid, long-term care Medicaid, home and community-based services, there is some potential that caregivers, family members could be reimbursed for the care that they provide. So I do want to clarify that they're depending on the parents' financial situation, their functional needs, what kind of support they need in the home. Family members could qualify, or they could be reimbursed if their parents qualify for those services. So that is something that we can help you navigate at the Aging and Disability Resource Center. So you're welcome to call us with those questions.
Perfect. Thank you for that. And then there was another question in there. I saw it a little higher up and it got kind of in the mix. Dana, this might be a question for you. They were asking if families were notified of the PEBT opportunity or how that was sent out.
You know, Chris, I don't know of the notification system that went out from the state, if they received an auto-generated letter or if the benefits just appeared on their card. Kathy, do you happen to know the answer to that?
I do not, but I can find it and get it to Chris or David to put out. I know the schools were sending out notices. And again, just letting folks know if they're on the program and how to link their cases. And Hunger Free also has done some training on that as well. So I can certainly send that.
Okay, thanks, Kathy. I think most of the outreach was done between the state and Hunger Free Colorado. Pardon me. So I don't know if individual households were notified in advance at all, but we'll look into it and try to find out for you. Cool.
And then we just had another follow-up, Dana, while you're still on. The question was, are different languages available online or in person? We're assuming this may be regarding applications for DHS services, but could you explain a little bit about that?
Sure. So if anybody calls into our language line, if we don't have somebody who speaks that language available, we do have over the phone interpretation services that can be made available. We do have, I'm trying to get my language right. They're not translators, but they're interpreters that can work with our eligibility technicians to help with benefits. As of right now, both our 4DHS line, our 4DHS line is in both English and Spanish. We don't have other languages translated currently. And then I don't know in terms of the PEAK website. Kathy, do you happen to know if other languages are available online?
Yes, actually it's Spanish that's available online, and at the top of the page with PEAK, you can actually link it. If anybody is interested in that PowerPoint, I can provide that to you as well about how applying online and also how to change the language on the PEAK website.
Perfect. And then actually, Kathy, while you're speaking, do you want to
yes, highlight
Navigator training?
Yes, Navigator 1.0 training. We have quite a few trainings actually that are filling up. September is already full. October, the first training is full, but I believe David or Chris will provide the link for you to sign up, and we go over all of DHS, basically the assistance, protection and supports divisions. We talk about child support, child welfare. We talk about DPALs. We talk about food, med, cash, our core division. And also we have the PEAK outreach team come and talk about the PEAK application. So if you want to know more about it, please sign up, and we can also give out training to different organizations or groups separately from my schedule. So I'm doing that all the time.
Perfect. Thank you, Kathy. I will say I've personally attended a few of those trainings and presented at them, and they're fantastic. So definitely, if you guys haven't had the experience, definitely sign up. We are a little ahead on time. I just wanted to double check with our presenters, make sure there wasn't any additional information you would like to give out. Also give our attendees a moment to ask any last minute questions that you may have. You know, and if everyone's good, we can definitely end a little early, but I just want to make sure everyone has the chance to speak and or ask a question. Okay. Well, I just want to let everyone know, thank you so much for attending today. It's fantastic. I'm glad that we were able to continue these meetings virtually. Please let let your friends know, let your other colleagues know about these. I did want to make an announcement. We will have our final community network meeting of the year on November 13th, and the topic is housing and homelessness. It will be a pretty big topic, as we all are aware of what's going on in our community right now. We are working on getting our speakers established, but I know I've reached out to a lot of you, so if you have any questions or would like to attend, please let us know. We'll also be sending it out to our listservs that we have established, so definitely keep an eye out for that. And yeah, just to end it, I hope you guys have a great rest of your day. Happy Friday. Have a great weekend. Enjoy the warm weather that looks like is creeping back in. And again, thank you so much to our presenters and to all of you. Have a good one, guys.